Mell Pitcher, a storyteller I'd never even heard of until his YouTube channel exploded a few days ago, claims he can point out world-building mistakes we don't even know we're making. Okay, Mell?
Challenge accepted.
Okay, the first thing I'm noticing is that his editing and storytelling are pretty good. He's all dynamic, talking with his hands. He's got all these interesting things popping up on the screen. He's got this visual analogy with a Rubik's Cube going. Yeah, he might actually be a pretty good storyteller. But that doesn't mean he's right about world building. Let's get to his first point.
Every aspect of our reality, as you see it, is subject to change in a fantasy world that you created. Sounds obvious, right? But it's not just things like climate, down to fashion, religion, common sayings, days of the week. We can take things many steps further.
Alright, I think I get it. The point is you can go way outside the box. It's your world, you can go nuts. Are your characters living on a planet? That's optional. Are there even people at all? That's optional too. Are they in a four-dimensional hyper-reality where you've rewritten the laws of physics from scratch? There's nothing in the rulebook that says dogs can't play hyper-dimensional basketball.
There is no standard for fantasy or sci-fi, not Tolkien, not D&D, not The Expanse, or whatever else you're thinking of in your mind right now.
I mean, he's technically right, which, for some, is the best kind of right. And I think it is good for storytellers to consider these outlandish possibilities. Consider being the key word. But there's also a good reason people reuse tropes, and I don't think lack of imagination is a mistake most writers and world builders are making. In fact, I think people like world building so much because they really get this. Of course you can make the world anything you want, that's the point. So sure, if your world is the same as Tolkien except your elves are blue, you should probably try to imagine a little harder. For the rest of us, we're good. What's the next mistake?
Yes, we have a sandbox where we can literally do anything, but that definitely does not mean you have to do everything. Oh, I can build everything and then trying to build every single aspect of your world. The latter is what we in the biz like to call world builder's disease.
Oh, straight for the jugular. Not gonna deny it. Guilty as charged. So the point is that if you're world building for a story, and you don't have to be, then it's really easy to spend a lot of time building a bunch of world that has nothing to do with the story. Now some writers do this on purpose, treating their world like an iceberg. They make only a tiny bit visible to the audience above the surface of the water, but because they've done the work to understand the massive iceberg under the surface, that tiny bit above has a weight to it. It can hint at much more and give a genuine sense that the world has depth and complexity without spelling it all out. That can work. But, and this is a big but, Mell is absolutely right that you can go overboard. Worse, if you've done a lot of work building a world that has nothing to do with your story, you might be tempted to jam it into your story anyway, dumping wall after wall of impenetrable exposition on your poor audience. The plot and the characters are way more important than the world building of just about any story. Let the world building be the salt in your dish. Just enough can make your story amazing, too much can make it disgusting. And yeah, I've definitely been guilty of adding too much salt. Mell got me on this one. Well done, sir. What's next? Oh hey, he actually talks about the iceberg. Nice. I'm starting to think this guy might know what he's talking about. Let's see what else he's got.
It's not ideal to build every detail in your world. We can't know the entire iceberg. So what's the answer? Fake it. We remove the start line and get a gradient instead. The amount of world building you do fades with the vision of the reader. The mountain gets foggier the further we go.
Yeah, we're fully talking in metaphors now, mostly because this part is quite subjective. Brandon Sanderson sometimes talks about making a hollow iceberg, basically getting at the same thing. Build enough that your audience thinks it goes on forever, but no more, because finishing stuff is hard and you've got to move on or you're never going to finish even the first draft. Mell and I are basically in agreement on this. Next.
All these aspects of your world are not independent of each other. They need to interact to create a believable world. You can't just dump something into your world and say it doesn't affect anything else.
Oh, he's right. He's so right. But also, I think for the first time in this video, he's wrong too. It's true. Everything should affect everything. Magic especially should have far-reaching ripple effects. I've made a whole video about that, and I will happily, viciously tear apart stories like Harry Potter where that's not true, where it feels like the author forgot about the last book every time she wrote a new one. But, another big old but, the only reason I can do that is because everyone loved Harry Potter so much, including me. If you do what Harry Potter did, and you just ignore cohesion, just don't bother thinking things through, people like me will mock you on the internet forever, and you'll be so sad. You'll be crying all the way to the best-selling lists, all the way to your crowded book signing events, all the way to your multi-million-dollar movie deals. The truth is, the vibe and the feeling inspired by your setting are 10 times more important than whether every little thing logically lines up. It's so much more important that you can actually just forget this step if you want to. By the time people have read enough of your stuff to notice it doesn't make sense, you've already succeeded beyond 99% of authors. I don't want you ignoring this step. I do this step exhaustively in my own work. I want my world to make sense. But your world literally doesn't have to. Sorry, Mel, you're wrong on this one. You're right, but you're wrong. You can just dump something into your world and say it doesn't affect anything else. I don't like it. For me personally, I think it makes writing worse. But you can. Now I've made myself sad. What's the next point?
Ignoring the rule of cool or focusing too much on realism. This is speculative fiction. Execute your crazy, insane ideas.
Wait a minute. That's what I just said, kinda. How am I supposed to have a proper argument with you if every time you say something, you balance it with reasonable caveats afterward? But yeah, I'm with you. I get stuck on this one most when I'm writing sci-fi. For example, Star Wars-style dogfighting in space makes no sense. I mean, they're literally doing spins to dodge lasers. Sorry, blasters. You think about it for 10 seconds and you realize it's bonkers baloney banana pants. That's not how space battles would work at all, even by the internal logic of Star Wars, never mind like anything resembling real physics. But it's so cool. And for that alone, it works. I'm with you, Mel. I've spent a long time trying to justify Star Wars-style dogfighting, building a universe where it is both cool and makes sense. You did the same thing with your mystical animals, coming up with reasons for why they are the way they are. To anyone out there who wants to do it that way, I'm with you. But you don't have to. Star Wars dogfighting worked. Didn't need any explanation. It made a good story, and no amount of grumbling by nerds like me can change that.
When you constrain yourself to not just what you want, but how it will affect other things, you start to come up with really interesting ways for them to interact. You create chemical reactions that take you places you never expected to go, and your world is usually better for it.
I 100% agree. Constraint is awesome for boosting creativity. Realism and the rule of cool don't have to be opposed. When you follow that thread of realism and ask yourself, what would happen if this were true? There is treasure to be found down that road.
It becomes nearly impossible for you to create a stagnant world, which is another thing I see in countless of worlds. The 90s were not the same as the 2000s, and both of them were completely removed from the 60s. Things will look different a decade from now, and that's all within one lifespan.
Music to my ears, yes. So many worlds are built on this notion that huge swaths of time can pass and nothing important changes. Nothing gets invented. Nobody challenges their religion or government. Perhaps there's a war, but no borders ever shift. Language especially never changes at all. Nobody is exploring, building, or changing anything of note. That is, until main character TM comes to shake things up, of course. That's boring and unrealistic. If you're gonna build an iceberg, let some of that iceberg be history, real history, where decades make things drastically different and centuries make things unrecognizable. Okay, last point.
What this is right here is trust. And I have to be real, if you're watching this, chances are you don't have it. Sanderson can create a world where the readers have to climb a 100-meter brick wall and their fingernails to understand the world, and they will. Same goes for King and Martin and any other famous author. They have already established that trust, their rapport with their readers for years and years. So just keep in mind that emulating everything they do might not always be the best thing for you.
I'm actually going to disagree on this one too. You may pick up the next Sanderson book no matter what, but I won't. I won't even finish the book I'm reading if it stops being interesting to me. If I ever don't care what's on the next page, I don't turn the page. And I know that's inconceivable to a lot of book enthusiasts, but I've got too much interesting stuff going on to read fiction that doesn't engage me. And there are a lot of people like me. There are also a lot of authors who write books for people like me, and Sanderson is one of them. Just like any new author, he is trying to build his audience, trying to appeal to people who don't trust him yet. Most authors are, even the big ones. And yeah, maybe there are a few who have gotten so big they don't care about growing their audience anymore, but they wrote their best work back when they still did, back when they knew they couldn't lean on their trust and were hungry to reach new people. I'm not saying you should copy any single author, but if something worked for them, there's a damn good chance it'll work again. They're playing the same game you are. I think this isn't a mistake at all. This is just a goal most people haven't achieved yet. Don't you remember the title of your own video, Mel? Oh yeah, wait, I'm supposed to be mad at you. Yeah, you can't tell me how to build my worlds. Yeah, truth is, you seem like you really know what you're talking about. I think you made a great video, Mel, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Keep it up, sir. I hope the rest of you out there found that either helpful or entertaining. If you did, I think you really liked this video too. And until next time, toodles.